Over the past century, mascots have become just as much a part of a brand's identity as the product itself. Sports teams, restaurants, game franchises, and even YouTube channels have all leveraged mascots to help advance their brand, and Phantasy Star is no exception, being represented by the time and space transcending Rappy. Here, we aim to explore the settings, people, creatures, and armaments of the PSO2 universe, their context within the Phantasy Star franchise, and any possible real-world parallels. My name is Zio, and I'll be your lore keeper. Our story begins in 1990 with Phantasy Star III, Successors of Time, on the Mega Drive. Released the following year in the States as Phantasy Star III, Generations of Doom on the Genesis. In the city-state of Landon, a young prince named Reese is set to marry his bride Maya, but just as they exchange their vows, she's captured by a mysterious dragon figure. Reese is understandably grieving and vows vengeance, wanting to mobilize an army to find Maya, but his father, the more pragmatic, level-headed type, has him locked in the dungeon to cool his heels. But Reese doesn't stay in there for long, as a young woman comes and helps him escape and urges him to go after Maya. Just outside the city, Rappies are among the first foes that Reese encounters on his adventures, and his descendants would later encounter mechanical variants as well. We'd see the birds in the next game, Phantasy Star IV, The End of the Millennium. The village of Tarinko on the planet Matavia has a bird problem and needs the help of the Hunters Guild. The Rappies set up home base in a cave east of the village with their king. After a battle with Chaz and friends, the king retreats and the other birds are sent packing as well. The crops are safe. 7 years later, at the tail end of 2000, Phantasy Star Online would make its debut on the Dreamcast, and usher in the design of the Rappy that we've all come to know. This is also where the Rappies would gain a number of their distinct personality traits. On the forests of the planet Ragol, we're introduced to a diverse cast of birds, ranging from the classic yellow to white, to the more sought-after blue and even rainbow variants. Even special holiday variants are known to exist. These rare birds are sought after by hunters for their unique treasure. At some point, the hunters of Pioneer 2 would be dispatched to the deserts of the planet Ragol to investigate a massive impact crater. It is there that they'd encounter a subspecies of Rappy called the Sand Rappy, which more or less behaved like its cousins in the forest. In Phantasy Star Universe, the classic yellow Rappy would appear as a rare enemy, but its more common white-feathered cousins would appear on the planet New Days. Now we come to their current iterations in PSO2. Their natural habitat is the planet Navarius, where they're dubbed Nav Rappies. Appearance-wise, they're almost identical to their cousins on Ragol. Fledgling ARKS operatives are often given the task of collecting data from Nav Rappies, but their penchant for running away at the slightest bit of danger often makes this difficult. Its rare cousin, the bulbous-headed chibi-style Rappy, doesn't have a set habitat. Just like their predecessors, these birds are fond of dressing up for holidays and special events. This also makes them a popular target for treasure-hunting ARKS operatives. Now that we've made a thorough account of the Rappy's history throughout the franchise, let's examine some of their common physical and personality traits. While their design has certainly evolved over the years, a number of key characteristics remain unchanged. They're short, yellow birds with Y-shaped talons and a pair of large antennae on their heads. Their short wingspan makes them unable to fly, instead using them like a pair of human arms. They'll often employ their beaks or claws as a means of self-defense, and in some rare cases, even wield techniques. Rappies are timid yet territorial animals, preferring safety in numbers. Rappies often form groups, communicating to one another in song when there's no clear and present danger. Rappies will defend their territory against any would-be intruders, but if an encounter turns sideways, the Rappy will play dead and wait for its assailant to lose interest before making its getaway. Unlike their counterparts in another JRPG franchise, Rappies don't serve any apparent practical purpose. In our introduction, we talked a little bit about mascots, so why don't we bookend our time together by exploring the Rappy's capacity as such. Since the series reboot in 2000, the Rappy has risen to prominence as its mascot, solidifying that role even further in recent years. The Rappy's likeness has appeared on countless pieces of merchandise over the years, from prepaid cards to baked goods. There's also a number of unofficial fan-made products out there. Even though PSO2 has a couple mascot characters of its own, such as Lillipens or Arkuma, the Rappy shall forever rule them all. Uh-oh. Do I hear the sound of dismembered false spawn? accompanied by sadistic laughter? As always, thanks for watching.